Tonight, jailed for life. The killers who brutally attacked 14-year-old Caroline Glachan almost 3 decades ago and left her to drown in the River Leven. Today, her family finally get justice.
I don't think closure's the right word, but justice is certainly the right word.
Also making the headlines, the house buyer left out in the cold, thousands of pounds out of pocket and no dream home following the Stuart Millen collapse.
In sport, Andy Murray says he could have played his last Australian Open after losing his first-round match in straight sets.
What does the cloud wear under its jacket? Thunderwear.
And on Blue Monday, the primary school pupils vying to be the funniest in the land. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Closure isn't the right word, but justice certainly is. The words of a mother who has waited almost 3 decades to see her daughter's killers jailed. Caroline Glachan was 14 when she was murdered by what a judge has described as extreme violence.
2 of the killers, who brutally attacked the teenager and left her to drown in the River Leven, have been given life sentences. Robert O'Brien will spend at least 22 years behind bars. Andrew Kelly, a minimum of 18 years. Our chief reporter, Sharon Frew, was in court.
This is the day that I've been waiting for 27 years.
For Caroline Glachan's mother, the 14-year-old's death has left a void in her life that can never be filled. She said she was deprived of seeing the women her daughter would have become. After reading her victim impact statement, the judge acknowledged there was no sentence he could pass that could make up for what Margaret McKeach lost. It took almost 3 decades for detectives to crack the alibis of those responsible for the 14-year-old's murder. 2 of them are now beginning a life sentence.
I know it might not look like it, but I am over the moon. I just couldn't have asked for anything better. I don't think closure's the right word, but justice is certainly the right word.
In August 1996, Caroline was infatuated with her new boyfriend, Robbie O'Brien. She'd arranged to meet the then 18-year-old at a bridge beside the River Leven between Renton and Bon Hill. But O'Brien had come mob-handed. Together with Andrew Kelly and Donna Marie Brand, he repeatedly punched, kicked and hit the 14-year-old, knocking her unconscious. The teenagers left her to drown in the river.
It is hard to find words to describe the evil nature of your crime, but 3 which come to mind are brutal, depraved and above all wicked. The precise motive for the attack remains unclear, although on the evidence it appears that even in the short time you had known Caroline, you had exhibited controlling and violent behaviour towards her.
The judge commented that both men continued to show no remorse and said due to their lifestyles it was very likely that both were under the influence of drugs when they carried out a premeditated, brutal murder of a defenceless 14-year-old girl. The attack took place in the presence of 2 young children. They were the youngsters a 16-year-old Andrew Kelly was babysitting that night. The evidence of 4-year-old Archie Wilson was gathered during the initial investigation. But while the names of all 3 accused were widely circulated, some in the community were reluctant to speak to police. Other crucial witnesses were traced when the case was re-examined in 2019.
There was anger, there was shock, there was disbelief. She was a wee lassie and did not deserve this. It was horrific. We're ashamed that it happened. I think she's able to walk around the streets knowing that the people she passes, it's not them, it's not him, it's not her, that the person who did it is where they should be.
O'Brien will spend at least 22 years in prison before he is eligible for parole. Kelly, 18 years. Donna Marie Brand was unable to attend this morning's hearing due to ill health. For Caroline's mother, this means a return to the High Court in March for the final stages of securing justice for her daughter. Sharon Frew, STV News, Glasgow.
And you can hear a longer interview with Caroline Glachan's mother on Scotland Tonight, just after 11 o'clock.
Now, 1 week on, and the fallout from the collapse of the Stuart Mill housing group is continuing. Tonight, we hear from a woman who says she's lost thousands of pounds. Lynn Ogilvie was due to pick up the keys to her new family home in 2 weeks' time, but the house builder's sudden collapse threw her plans into chaos.
Former employees are also facing an uncertain future. Unite the Union say they're continuing to explore legal options over what they say was a lack of consultation. Brandon Cook reports.
Just last week, Lynn Ogilvie was assured her Stuart Mill home would be ready for her family to move into by the end of the month. Within hours of that guarantee, without any warning, the house builder collapsed into administration. 7 days on, Lynn is still in limbo and has lost at least £4,000.
It was just a generic email to all those who had reserved, basically just saying all reservations are cancelled, all money's paid is lost, basically. And the quote, to quote what it said, was to make alternative plans. I'd paid for all of our extras, so flooring, different bits of the kitchen, things like that. So that's gone.
The young family are now planning to move in with Lynn's parents.
I think now, was it maybe too good to be true, what had happened when they offered us the house? I don't know. We've not had any email reply to the messages we've sent them. It just annoys me that we've been just treated as numbers.
That lack of communication is a frustration shared by former employees and subcontractors. Some attended meetings today as Unite the Union explores legal action.
Devastating. You could see the emotion in the room with the questions we were having to answer, and how we can do our best as a union to support all the workers, and especially our members.
The administrators declined to comment on potential legal action by the union. They previously said they were working with former employees to try and help them to access any statutory payments that they may be entitled to. But those representing subcontractors say they aren't hopeful of any big payouts.
The amount of money that will be left after everybody else is paid, the subcontracting chain will take a massive hit. If they can't renegotiate terms with their suppliers, then they'll either go bust as well, and that can have a domino effect right through the industry.
A week on from the sudden closure of one of Scotland's biggest house builders, plans ruined, lives disrupted, and questions still remain. Brandon Cook, STV News.
A woman from West Lothian who was left widowed with 3 young children after her husband died is to have a personal meeting with the Prime Minister to discuss financial support for families like hers.
Had she been bereaved a year earlier, Laura Williams would have received help until her children reached the age of 18. But changes to the benefit system ended that. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
When Laura's husband died suddenly, her daughter was 5 years old. Her twin boys were just 2. On top of grief, a new system for supporting people through bereavement brought worries of financial hardship.
The bereavement support payment had only come into play about a year prior to that. And what that meant for us as a family was that essentially, rather than us having support in our loss up until the point where the children were no longer dependent, that had actually been reduced to 18 months. And so as you can imagine, that meant that we were put in a very different financial position almost overnight.
Around 21,000 families in the UK are thought to be similarly affected.
I'm a psychologist as well as someone with personal experience, and I know from both of those roles in my life that when you're grieving someone and a significant loss like that, it takes a lot of your mental capacity, mental energy. The last thing that you need to be thinking about is the finances and how you're going to support your children.
The issue has been raised in Parliament, with Laura's MP keen to highlight her case to the Prime Minister, as well as ensuring help is available where a parent dies and wasn't married to their partner.
I've been very encouraged, actually, and I think in the moment I thought it was quite an interesting response from the Prime Minister, because usually he would respond and try and defend whichever policy you're challenging, but he didn't do that. He was very sympathetic and he straight away offered a meeting, which is not that usual. So I hope that there is scope for him to listen and potentially make some changes.
There's many people who are in these circumstances who've been in touch with me in the last few days, and even over recent years as I've sort of talked about these issues on my own social media. area. And so, yes, I think there is an opportunity now to give voice to that.
Gordon Cree, STV News, Livingston.
Other stories, and the brother-in-law of the First Minister, Hamza Yusuf, has been charged with supplying heroin and being in possession of cocaine and cannabis. Ramzi El Nakla appeared at Dundee Sheriff Court on drug charges, along with Stephen Stewart and Victoria McGowan. All three made no plea. Cross-border trains from Glasgow are to be disrupted after drivers announced more strike action. The ASLEF union is in dispute with 15 companies over pay, including Avanti West Coast, which operates services between Glasgow and London. The UK government says a fair offer has been made.
The AA dealt with more than 600,000 pothole-related incidents last year. That's the highest for 5 years. The motoring organisation's latest data shows the cost of the nation's growing pothole crisis.
Now, as part of a drive to fix the issue, Midlothian Council is on track to permanently repair 5,000 potholes in a year with its new Pothole Pro machine. Known as the Tarminator, the machine cuts away damaged road and replaces it within 8 minutes. Vanessa Kennedy went along to see it in action.
They're the bane of many motorists' lives. You don't need to look far to know there are plenty of potholes on our roads. Recent data shows reports of potholes and the damage they caused hit a 5-year high last year. And that's something these workers know all too well.
Potholes are probably our biggest complaint we get as a council. And the other bit in the back of that is recurring potholes. If we get what we call a Category 1 pothole, one that's going to cause risk to damage for vehicles, it has to be fixed within 24 hours. So we have to quite reactively get out and fix those potholes.
Now, that job is being made easier with this, a new piece of technology fondly known as the Tarminator.
Rather than the old quick temporary fix of simply filling the pothole with tar, this new method involves ripping out the old pothole and creating a permanent repair which should last the lifespan of the roads.
A 5-person crew prepares, fills and rollers the repair, sealing it permanently, all within half an hour. Conventional methods would take half a day to fix the same pothole temporarily. Figures from the AA show 630,000 potholes were reported to councils across the UK between January and November last year. And as well as putting drivers' lives at risk, there can be a high price to pay when it comes to the damage they can cause.
It could be £100 to £200 just for a tyre. If your alloy wheel's damaged, you can be up to around £300 for an alloy wheel. Then you've obviously got wheel alignment on top of that. Your ADAS system might need recalibrated depending on how severe the damage was. And then worst case scenario is front or rear suspension damage, which could lead up to over £1,000, so very costly.
The target here is to permanently repair 5,000 potholes in a year. So for this Tarminating team, it's full steam ahead. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News Midlothian.
Other stories in the West, and around 400 workers at Falkirk bus manufacturer Alexander Dennis have started 2 weeks of strike action. Members of the Unite union are walking out in a dispute over pay. There was a previous round of strikes before the new year. Company bosses say their pay offer is highly competitive. Lower uptake of winter vaccines is putting an additional strain on Scotland's health service. On a visit to the Royal Alexandra Hospital, the Health Secretary said winter bugs were increasing pressure on frontline staff. Public Health Scotland data shows fewer elderly people, health and social care workers have been vaccinated this year.
Uptake for those who are the most vulnerable has been positive. However, we could have actually seen higher levels overall, and that's why we've continuously highlighted the most important way in which people can protect themselves against a whole range of different things is to make sure they take up the vaccine when it's offered.
The closure of a senior centre which caters to the elderly South Asian community of Kirkintilloch would devastate those who call it a home away from home. The Milun Centre will close at the end of March after what Eastern Bartonshire Council say has been a long and difficult process. Fiducia Tawari reports.
Save the Milun Centre!
Braving the cold and raising their voices.
Save the Milun Centre!
These women and men are fighting against the closure of the Milun Centre. Housed in this building, they say it's the lifeblood of the South Asian community and a lifeline service for those who use it.
This centre is my life.
I cannot survive without it. I'll be overwhelmed by my health conditions if I have to stay at home alone. This centre is my life. I've been coming here for 30 years.
I will have nothing. I cannot live without the support of this centre. I will go back into depression and I will just be a burden on the NHS.
And it's not only for those people, those who are coming here, more generation, more people will be coming on the stage and, these conditions. So they need that kind of, facilities for the future.
For the woman who founded it, the thought of closure is almost too much to take.
We're not asking for much. We just want the centre to remain open. That's because when you lose something you've built with your own hands, it breaks your heart. If we lose this, we'll be finished because it's not like we can go anywhere else.
Now, their cause has been backed at Holyrood by local MSP Pam Gossel.
They need this centre to be open. They don't want to be sitting in the house alone. They want to be around people that understand them culturally, having those chats socially. So it's very important, it's a lifeline. And a lot of them are already talking about their mental health and feeling depressed.
East Dunbartonshire Council say the decision to close is a difficult one and have offered on numerous occasions to support the Millen customers and their families and friends to establish locally based community groups for people from ethnic minority origin, providing a place to meet, socialise and enjoy various activities. But with closure at the end of March looming, those who use the centre nearly every day say their fight is only just beginning. Vidushi Tiwari, STV News.
Now Rahman is here with the sport.
Thanks very much, John. Good evening to you all. Andy Murray admits he could have played at the Australian Open for the last time after losing his first round match in straight sets. Murray lost to 30th seed Thomas Martin Etcheverry in a one-sided contest. The former world number one says it was a poor performance but couldn't explain why he struggled.
Could this be Andy Murray waving goodbye to the Australian Open for the last time? After a lacklustre performance, the former world number one answered this question at his post-match media conference.
Definitely a possibility. Yeah, there's definite possibility that would be the last time I play here. Whilst you're playing the match, you're obviously trying to, control your emotions, focus on the points and everything. And then when you're 1 point away from the end, it's I can't believe this is over so quickly.
Murray, a five-time finalist in Melbourne, showed glimpses of his class.
Oh, he has done that time.
But his winners were few and far between. Instead, Etcheverry dominated this match. The 30th seed broke Murray's serve in the 7th game. He took the first set by 6-4. By Murray's own admission, this was a flat performance with too many unforced errors. Etcheverry, who was one of the most improved players on the tour last year, often dictated rallies.
Oh, that is exquisite.
With 2 breaks of serve, the Argentine won the second set 6-2. This time last year, Murray was winning 5-set marathon matches in the Australian Open. Today, he went out on a whimper. Etcheverry sealed the victory in under 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a poor performance, and yeah, it was very, very flat. Don't know exactly why that was the case, because I've been feeling good going in. I, played pretty well in Brisbane and practiced really well the last 10 days or so. So, don't know.
This is just the second time in the last 16 years Murray has suffered defeat in the opening round in Melbourne. Today, he was a shadow of the player that has given tennis fans much excitement and joy.
Football news, and Nicholas Kuhn has undergone a medical at Celtic and is set to seal his move to the Champions in the next 24 hours. The German winger is set to become Brendan Rodgers' first signing of the January transfer window, joining from Rapid Vienna as the Parkhead boss bolsters his attacking options. Hibs boss Nick Montgomery says the club is working hard to sign new players this month and says he is looking to build a more energetic team. Montgomery, who is targeting up to 4 players in the January transfer window, is putting his squad through their paces at a winter training camp in Dubai. Brazilian trialist Adrian won't earn a deal. Leeds defender Chris Moore has also been on trial.
We're working hard to try and find the right players. I think it's, again, really difficult to put any number. You know, what we do know is that, you know, we are light in a couple of areas. I'm hoping that we'll see a more energetic team, that will have more strength in depth and players that can come off the bench and make an impact. So that's my, that's what I'm hoping for the second part of the season.
Motherwell has signed Celtic defender Adam Montgomery on loan until the end of the season. Meanwhile, Callum Slattery has been ruled out for the rest of the campaign after sustaining a serious knee injury during training. The midfielder has made 25 appearances this campaign, scoring 3 goals. Now, Buckie Thistle defender Daryl McCarty says it would be the biggest cup upset of all time if they defeat Celtic in the Scottish Cup this weekend. The Highland League side are away to the holders in the 4th round on Sunday. Chris Harvey reports.
Come on, go, 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 go! Get another ball! Here we go!
Buckie Thistle players putting in the hard yards at training on a freezing cold January night. The Jags are gearing up for the biggest match in their history when they take on Celtic in the Scottish Cup at Parkhead this Sunday. The club's been on a high since the draw was made.
When Celtic came out and then Buckie came out after, we just erupted basically. Like, it was just like everyone was just delighted. Like, it's huge for the club. Like, the club profit a lot from this game, and even the players as well, just getting this opportunity to play against them. Like,
start out a warm up, do some sprints, passing drill.
While there might be 3 leagues and many millions of pounds between the teams, this is football, and the dream outcome for the Banffshire club is far from impossible.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, but everyone knows, you know, it's a very big task for us to go out and beat like the champions of Scotland. But you never know. There's been some big cup upsets, but I think this would, as far as anything goes, I think this could be the biggest cup upset ever if we go get a result.
Legend has it that Buckie's famous green and white hoops were a gift from a Celtic side of yore. Jags manager Graham Stewart's hoping for a bit more charity at Parkhead on Sunday.
I just got told that as well. I don't know if that's a tale or if it's true that Celtic gave Buckie the strips to play a long time ago. I mean, if it is, it makes it a nice little story for this game.
Can Buckie pull off the biggest shock in Scottish Cup history? They can dare to dream. Chris Harvey, STV News.
Rugby, and we are due them one. The words of Glasgow Warriors back rower Matt Fagerson ahead of the club's Champions Cup match against Toulon on Friday night. The Warriors, who suffered a controversial defeat to Exeter Chiefs on Saturday when a last-gasp try was ruled out, lost heavily to the French club in the final of the Challenge Cup last season. The Scotsman side will progress to the knockout stages with a win against Toulon.
For a campaign like that last year, where all comes down to the game at the end, we definitely didn't show the best of ourselves, and hats off to Toulon, they turned up firing. So yeah, we'll probably due them one a little bit, but I think if you focus on that too much, it can detract from why you're playing so well this year. So yeah, we'll be focusing on ourselves, and maybe that'll be a bit of fuel to the fire towards the end of the week.
And Jack Dempsey and Cal Steyn will be back for that match. One final piece of football news before I go. Lee Bullen has been sacked as Ayr United manager. The Honest Men sit second bottom of the Championship. That, folks, is all your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow.
All right, thanks very much, Rahman. Well, we're all bracing ourselves for the snowy weather, aren't we? Not least our Sean. Let's chat to him now. So, Sean, how bad will it be?
Well, of course, we've got the snow, which is on the way tomorrow, and it's going to be on and off through much of the day. And in the worst spots, we could be looking at as much as around 10 to 15 centimetres of snow. We'll get into the details of that in the forecast. So tomorrow will be a very snowy day for some of us, and then we're back to crisp winter sunshine after that. But we've got the coldest weather still to come. It already feels cold out here just now, but in actual fact, tonight's probably going to be one of the warmest days of the week. Some extremely cold nights to come, and after we get that snow tomorrow, we're going to get perfect conditions. I think probably tomorrow night and Wednesday night and possibly even Thursday night, we could get lows down to about -5 to -7 degrees in some spots. And expecting the usual frost hollows around the likes of Glasgow Airport, the likes of Linwood and Renfrew, and perhaps around Newbridge near Edinburgh Airport, some of these little frost pockets. I wouldn't be surprised to see a low of -8 or -9 in the next couple of nights. So it's some extreme low temperatures in the way, but that snow for some of us tomorrow. Let's have a look.
A spell of sea air, will be followed by a strong chance of you have to try these. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
So tomorrow is going to be the snowiest day, widespread snowfall across many parts, with the exception of the very far southwest. We'll get to the details in a wee second, but a very snowy day for many of us tomorrow. But then, later on the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, many of us are back to the sort of weather we've had today with the lovely crisp winter sunshine. Most of the snow showers backing to the west coast. Across the Hebrides, I expect here in parts of Ayrshire, we will hang on to wintry showers through most of the week. But that snow that lies on the ground tomorrow will be with us throughout the week because those temperatures are going to remain around freezing and well below by night. But tomorrow, the main swathe, this is the current track. It may change, but this is the current track for the main swathe of the heaviest snow tomorrow, most disruptive snow. I expect around the lights of the Highlands, initially through northern parts of Argyll, Stirlingshire into Falkirk, Clackmannanshire, North Lanarkshire, around Glasgow, possibly Renfrewshire as well, into South Lanarkshire and also West Lothian. If you live in these areas, if you can work from home, I'd say it's advisable to do it because that snow will be on and off tomorrow. It could be disruptive because there could be some heavy bursts at times as well. Temperatures overnight tonight about -2 to -5 degrees, especially over inland parts. We've got the clearest skies here. Then tomorrow we see that cloud moving in from the west. So during tomorrow morning, as you head out to work and school, that snow will be starting to spread in from the west, especially across central, southern and eastern parts, particularly snowy here for a time during tomorrow. Now expect coastal parts of Argyll, around Arran, coastal mainland Ayrshire. Here it will turn back to rain and sleet for a time, but very, very icy with those temperatures extremely low during tomorrow night. So a snowy day for many tomorrow, back to crisp sunshine on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, they say laughter is the best medicine, but it can be a form of therapy too, especially for improving the communication skills of children.
A new joke competition is being launched in primary schools across the country to highlight the importance of speech and language for a child's development. Caitlin Hutchison has more.
What happened when the lion ate a clown? Well, he felt funny, of course. And that's just as well for today's assembly at Churnside Primary School, where making each other laugh is the name of the game.
Knock, knock. They did not see that coming.
The pupils here are hosting the very first voice box joke contest, and competition is fierce.
What does the cloud wear under his jacket? Thunderwear. What did Pixel say to his tummy? It's under a vest. What do you call a number that can't stay still? A Roman numeral. How do you organise a space party? You plan it.
It aims to spread laughter among those taking part, as well as boosting their communication skills, confidence and self-esteem.
The most fun experience was me going up to the stage. You can express how you feel through jokes. Everyone laughs and then it makes you laugh too. It is nerve-wracking, but once you get up, you probably might be confident enough to say a joke. It was fun listening to other people's jokes and getting to laugh. How do you get Pikachu on the bus? Pokemon.
But the crucial role communication plays in a child's development is no joke. Around 1 in 4 children and young people in Scotland have a predicted speech, language or communication need, with around 6,500 currently waiting to be seen by a specialist.
Research is clear that speech-language communication is critical for child development. We know that if these children, without the right support, they can struggle to communicate, to make friends, which impacts their well-being, their learning and their future.
They've really come out of themselves and getting to see them up on the stage, it's really good for their confidence.
Every single primary school pupil in Scotland is now being invited to take part in Voice Box. The funniest finalists will go head-to-head at the Scottish Parliament later this year, so there's plenty of time to perfect their punchlines. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
Some really great jokes there. And do you know what, John? I've got one for you. Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use honeycombs.
Of course. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.